This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Hi friends. Good evening. So in this Azure Databricks Master Program, this is our 11th session. In this session, we are going to see Azure Databricks CLI installations. Along with that, we are going to see how you can execute CLI commands. Okay, command line interface commands. How you can execute for accessing your notebooks, for creating cluster, to get the information about the existing cluster, okay, or to create a new folder, and to create a new, like to export the notebook from the local system to the Azure Databricks, or if you want to import any notebook from your Azure Databricks to your local. So for all these things, how you can write your, what are the different CLI commands we have, so how to remember all these things, because not only learning, right? So if you learn, you may forget. So we are going to learn in such a way that even if you forget, you can able to get it from the command line itself. You just have to use the help command. If you use help command, you will get to know each and everything. Okay. So today we will see. So basically we have different parts, right, in Azure Databricks. First thing is we need to understand how we can install this CLI, Azure Databricks CLI, how to install. Second one is with the CLI commands, how to create cluster and how to work with cluster. Then how to work with your workspace. Workspace means notebooks. So these three parts we are going to complete it today: installation, clusters, and workspace. Workspace means notebook. So these things we will cover today. In tomorrow session, we will see how to create jobs by using CLI commands, and how to install libraries by using CLI commands, and how to upload your source data. Okay, so you may have CSV file, you may have Parquet file. So these kind of data, how you can move it into your DBFS system. So how to work with DBFS system by using CLI commands. So remaining three we will discuss tomorrow. First three, those are installation, cluster, workspace. These three we will discuss in today's session. Next, let's see what we are going to learn today. So we will see prerequisites to install the Databricks CLI, how to install Databricks CLI, how to authenticate to Databricks workspace from CLI. So before you submit any commands, you need to authenticate to Databricks workspace so that you can able to access that particular Databricks workspace. Next, how to create cluster by using CLI. Okay, how to terminate cluster by using CLI, how to start cluster, how to restart cluster, how to get list of clusters, all the clusters which are available in your Azure Databricks, and how to get list of notebooks. So we are going to understand the list of notebooks which are available. Then we will see how to import notebook into Databricks from local. So from local, how you can move these notebooks into your database. In the same way, how to export your notebooks from Azure Databricks to your local system. How to remove notebook. Suppose you don't want to particular notebook, you want to remove it, how you can remove it. Then we will see how to create folders in Azure Database by using CLI. So all these things we will achieve it by using CLI commands. Okay, so now what I wanted to do is, before I execute and show you practically, I want to show you the commands which I'm going to use for Databricks CLI installation. The prerequisite is you should have a Python installation. The latest Python version you can use to install. Once you install Python, then you can able to install the Databricks CLI. Without Python, you cannot install this Databricks CLI. Now, how to install Databricks CLI? You can see pip install Databricks-CLI. So this is the command you need to issue so that you can able to execute, you can able to install the Databricks CLI. So once you have installed, how you will verify? Just issue a command called Databricks, then it will give you all the list of things that you can do with this Databricks CLI. So if it is giving all the list of things that you can do with the Databricks CLI, that means you have installed Databricks CLI successfully. If you see any error, this particular command is not found, such type of error if you see, what it means is your Databricks CLI is not installed properly. Okay, now your installation is finished. Now I need to authenticate to my Azure Databricks. Okay, you might have already created Azure Databricks workspace, right? So you need to authenticate, you need to connect to the Azure Databricks workspace. So how you can connect is by using Databricks configure-token. You need to say Databricks configure-token. Once we have issued that, what happens is it will ask you to enter your host name here. Databricks host name, I will tell you how to get it. So after that, you need to generate a token. So this is the token you need to use for connecting to Azure Databricks from CLI. Not only here, from Azure Data Factory also, if you want to connect to the Azure Databricks, you need to use this token. This token generation is very important and it is very easy to generate. Okay, it is only 1 or 2 steps to generate this token. Okay, these things we will learn. Next, let me show you with respect to cluster. So Databricks clusters-h. What it means is you are asking Databricks clusters, what all things I can do in the Azure Databricks cluster. On Azure Databricks cluster, what all things you can do, all those list of things that you can do, it will list down. If you ask help, -h means you are requesting for help. Now, so this is how you are going to create a cluster. Databricks clusters create. So this is the JSON script you need to pass it. And when you pass this particular JSON script, the mandatory things I have passed here. Okay, but there are a lot of things, it will take it as a default, but mandatory things I have passed it. You will come to know what are the mandatory things and what all things is required for creating the Azure Databricks cluster. Okay, all those things you will get to know. But the mandatory things are, these are the things: cluster name, next your Spark version, and you need to tell node type. So Spark version is nothing but this is basically your runtime. Okay, you are selecting runtime. Node type is nothing but what type of server you want. D3_v2 means it. So something like if you are selecting this node type ID, it indicates what server you want, whether you want four cores, 16 GB memory server you want, or 8 core 64 GB memory server you want. So something like that. If you want to decide the server, you need to type the node type ID. Next, number of worker nodes. If you remember, so we have created a cluster in our Azure Databricks. But when you are creating the cluster in Azure Databricks, as we are using free tier, you cannot take the worker nodes. Worker nodes, I need to consider 0. Then I will have a head node, that is nothing but driver node. So I am considering this is driver node. The number of worker nodes I am mentioning 0. So these are the mandatory fields I am giving here to create the cluster. If you submit this, it will create it. Okay, next. So Databricks clusters list. So what all clusters available in your Azure Databricks workspace, all those clusters list it will give you. Next. So Databricks clusters get -cluster -id. What happens is once you create this cluster, it will give you cluster ID. Cluster ID will be generated dynamically once it is created the cluster. So now if you would like to know all the details, all the default values it has taken and that values which are provided. So if you would like to see entire details about your cluster, we have to say Databricks clusters get. I want to get all the information. For which cluster you want to get the information, for that you need to say --cluster -id. This is the ID. How you will get this ID? When you say Databricks clusters list, so when it is displaying the clusters, it will say this is the cluster ID, this is the cluster name, this is the cluster ID, this is the cluster name, something like that. It will give the all details. So from that particular cluster ID you can give it here. So not only by using cluster ID, if you'd like to get all the information about cluster, you can also use something like this --cluster -name, and you can say Cloud Pandit -demo. If you give the name of the cluster, it will give all the details about that particular cluster. Next, Databricks clusters restart. Suppose if I am providing cluster ID and I'm saying I want to restart this cluster, yes, you can restart cluster. You just have to say cluster -id. Next, Databricks clusters delete. Delete is basically you are terminating. So remember, there is a difference between termination and deletion. If you terminate it, you can start the cluster again. If you delete it, you cannot get it. Like you cannot start same cluster. Okay. So Databricks clusters delete. Delete is nothing but you are terminating. So as I said, if you terminate this particular cluster, you can start the same cluster. So I'm starting the cluster again. Next. So events. Events means who has created this particular cluster, when this particular cluster is created, when this is started, when this is stopped. So all those events about this cluster, you can get it. If you want to permanently delete the cluster, you have to say permanent-delete and which cluster you want to delete. Why I am using cluster ID, cluster ID, cluster ID, cluster name, cluster ID. So you will have an n number of clusters, but you want to work on which cluster. That's why you need to filter out with cluster ID. So I want to get the entire information about my cluster. Get cluster ID. Okay, get entire information about this cluster. Restart this cluster. Terminate this cluster. ID cluster. So start this particular cluster. Get the events about this cluster. So permanently delete this cluster. Okay. So we need to tell on which cluster exactly you need to work. In real time, you have a lot of clusters. Okay. Based on different tracks, people will maintain a different clusters. These are the different, like not only these, you will have a more commands. I will show you all those things. But is it clear, or you would like to ask any questions here? If anybody have any questions, please let me know. Manohar, Abhishek, Yabashish, Devendra. Okay, then. Thank you. Let me go to, let's move on. Real-time project, how we use CLI. So how we are using currently, in the same way you can use it. Okay. How I am going to execute now, in the same way you can use in real time. So, but most of the things you people will do it by using GUI. Okay, from graphical user interface only people will do from UI. Okay, not from CLI. But if you'd like to do it from CLI, you can able to do. Suppose you want to import some notebooks from your Databricks workspace to your local. So all those things, if you know commands, you can quickly do those things. Okay, instead of going there and searching for all those things, quickly you can submit commands and you will get to know. Okay, if you want to download those things, you have to log in into Databricks. Then you need to, like, what you need to do again, you need to search for notebook folders, all those things. But here quickly you can identify the folders, all those things. It will be easy, okay, to do some things from CLI instead of going through the UI. Okay, but if you want to write code and all, you can go and write code from UI. But if you want to download some notebooks to local, or if you want to export some notebooks to your workspace, if you want to create a cluster, or if you want to know some information about cluster quickly, you can use the CLI commands. Okay, Abhishek. Now let me move on to the next one. So here you can see workspace. So Databricks workspace -H. Why I am using always H? Because you will get to know what all things you can do it by using like on workspace. In workspace, what all things you can do, you will get to know if you use the help. Okay. So list. So you are going to get all the folders which you have in your Azure Databricks. Next, list / users. So I will get some information saying that users shared. These are the default folders you will get when you create a Azure Databricks. Okay. So in this users, do I have any subfolder? Just I'm verifying. So if I have some folder, I will just keep on adding that folder, and I will try to find is there any content in that folder. But if I want to create my own directory, shared and users, you will have a default folders in Azure Databricks or whatever Databricks you use. Even Azure Databricks community, Databricks community, whatever you use, you will see users and shared. Those are the default folders. But if you want to create one more folder, you can use something like that mkdirs CLI folder you need to create. Then, so I want to import particular notebook. Example, I want to import some Python file from my local desktop to the folder which I have created in Azure Databricks. CLI folder I have created in Azure Databricks. See, so desktop, in desktop I have test.py. This I am moving into CLI folder. In that I am moving test.py, this file. Okay, when you are importing, you have to tell -l Python. So you need to, L is nothing but a language. So what language you are using? -l Python I am using. So Python file I'm moving, you have to type next. Databricks workspace, import. So I will tell you what is O. O means, see, again I am doing test.py to same folder. What it means is, now I'm just copying, I'm importing same file which I have imported previously. Now you have to tell whether you want to overwrite or what do you want to do. So if you are going to overwrite, you have to say -o. O means overwrite. Here -l means language. Again, I am saying Python. Language is Python. Next. So Databricks workspace import -dir. So import means single file you are importing. Now, if I want to import entire folder, example like language folder, something I have L folder. Now what I'm going to do is whatever files I have in this L folder, all the content I am moving into CLI folder. Okay, import -dir. Next, export -dir. So whatever content we have in this CLI folder, that entire content we are moving into L folder 1. So this is the Azure Databricks folder. This entire folder data I'm moving into L folder 1. Next, Databricks workspace export. I'm just exporting a single file. This is the Python file. Okay, this particular file I'm moving into another folder. So on desktop, if this particular folder is not available, example L folder 1 is not available, automatically this command will create that folder on desktop in your local system, and it will move this test.py into L folder. Next, if you want to remove any file, okay, any notebook, then you have to say rm. So this is the folder. Inside this folder I have this particular file. I want to remove that. If I want to remove all the content which I have in this folder, you have to say that folder -r. Recursively I want to remove all the notebooks or Python files which I have in this folder. Okay, okay, everybody is clear. If you have any question, please let me know. Devashish, okay, is clear. Abhishek is clear. Devendra Manohar. Can you confirm both of you? Okay. So that's all we are going to discuss today. So let me quickly start. So if you want to start with the CLI, first thing is, as I said, the prerequisite is you need to have a Python. Okay. If you don't know how to install Python, that I'm going to show you. But once I have a Python, I'm going to install a Databricks CLI. Then I need to authenticate to Azure Databricks workspace, meaning here I need to have a Azure Databricks workspace as well. So first thing that I'm going to do is I will log in into Azure portal. I will create Azure Databricks workspace. So once it is creating, meanwhile, I will explain you how to install Python. Another side, I'm going to explain how to install Python. Once you install Python, how you can install Databricks CLI. So meanwhile, your workspace will be ready. Once workspace is ready, I will tell you how to get the token to authenticate from the Databricks CLI. Okay, once you authenticate, then only you can able to create cluster. You can able to do anything on notebooks or clusters or libraries on jobs or whatever. Okay, DBFS. Okay, clear. So let's go into portal. Click on this. Here you can see portal.azure.com. So this is my mail ID. Just click on that. Let me enter my password here. Click yes. Okay, stay signed in. I'm able to log in into my Azure portal. Now search for your Databricks. Azure Databricks. You can see Azure Databricks. Just click on that to create your workspace. So before I create that, let me show you. We don't have any resources in my account. You can see I don't have any resources. Even I don't have any resource groups. Okay, I don't have anything. Let me create Azure Databricks workspace. So you just click on this. Now click add to create Azure Databricks workspace. So a resource group, you can say create open with adb-cli-rg Azure Databricks CLI resource group. This one I can say adb CLI adb workspace CLI, you can mention Azure Databricks workspace CLI, something like that. This is I'm creating in east-west. It can be like, as I said, if you go with the premium, you will have an extra role-based access control. For now, let me go with standard, but whatever you want to create, you can create it. We have seen how you can create premium and standard. What is the difference between those two? If you have not observed those differences, we will discuss again. Now, I don't have my own virtual networks. I want to deploy this particular Azure Databricks in default virtual network. So you can just leave it no, click tags. Tags, if you would like to give something created by all those things, you can able to give created by Cloud Monday. So the team working, the teams who is working, data science, a data science team is working, something like that. Just click review plus create. Validating, validation succeeded, just click create. Okay, so meanwhile I will show you quickly how you can install Python. If you don't have Python, just follow these steps. Just search for python.org. You can see your download button. Okay, don't worry about what version to install, all those things. Here you will see a latest version, Python 3.9.0. Just click on this. When you click on this, automatically it will download. I don't want to download, cancel it. So because I already have it. So once you downloaded this exe, just double open this. When you open it, will ask you to just agree for some things, right? So you know how to install software. So it will ask to agree for a few things. You just agree those things, and it will ask default installation or custom installation. Select default installation, click next, 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 finish it. That's all. Very, very simple steps. If you have any issue, okay, if you are not able to install this Python, okay, please let me know tomorrow, so I will look into it. Okay, what is the problem, why you are not able to install? Very, very easy step. Once you download, you just double click on that. You will have a default custom. Just select default options and then click next, next, next. Wherever it is asked for agreeing for terms and policies, you just click on that and click finish. That's all you need to install. Once you install, open CMD here. Okay, you can see here Python. So you can see here Python 3.8.5 I have. So this is the one way. Second way is just from start button you can search for Python. You will see some like shells. Okay, here you can see Python shell, right? So Python 3.8 here white. This is also shell, not this one. So but you will have. So this is one shell. You can see this is one shell. I have multiple shells because I installed multiple versions. Yeah, here also I think, let me just double click on this to see. Yeah, see this 3.7. I also have a 3.8. Okay, you can see those two. Let me show you again. Python, if you search here, you can see here Python 3.7. Here I have Python 3.8. Like you can maintain a 2 or 3 different versions of Python, but I am just getting the latest version here. Okay, now I want to quit from this particular shell. Just execute. How I have opened this? This is simple CMD. So don't confuse. Come here, you can say CMD. Okay, when you say CMD, you will come here. What you need to do is you just enter Python. So if you have any Python installation, it will display here. Okay, now you will in the Python shell. Okay, now you've entered into Python shell. Now I need to come out. Okay, now I came out, right? So now I will check whether my Databricks CLI is already installed or not. For that, you just say Databricks. So when you say Databricks, what it is saying? It is saying it is not recognized function. Okay. So when it is saying it is not recognized function, what it means is Python is not installed. Sorry, Databricks CLI is not installed. So I need to install the Databricks CLI. How you can install Databricks hyphen sorry pip install Databricks -CLI. Okay, just enter. Collecting Databricks CLI packages, all the packages which is required for this, then it will install. It will take for minute or 2 minutes. We'll wait. It will not take more than 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes it will take. Okay, you can see here successfully installed Databricks CLI 0.12.2. Okay, now, so whatever command you have issued previously, you can see this is the command, right? You just check it here again, Databricks I will type. This time it is not going to say this is not defined or something. It is going to give you all these details. See commands which you can execute. So if you want to work on these clusters, we have to say Databricks clusters. If you want to work on your libraries, Databricks libraries. If you want to work on like pipeline. If you want to work on workspace, you will have a workspace. See here, workspaces. Okay. If you want to work on any secrets, if you want to work on any jobs, okay, file system. So all these things you will have here. Now I want to first authenticate with my Azure Databricks. So for that, first thing that you need to do is Databricks configure. You can see here you have a configure. So I need to configure. So I don't know what else I have options. Just put -h. So if you want to know more things. So here you can see it is asking you to take token. So this is the option you need to use to give your authentication details. Okay, if you just give this command -t or -token. So you can see here you can use -t single hyphen and t. Otherwise, you can say double hyphen and token. So if you use issue command by using any of this option, then it will ask you to enter username, host name, then it will ask you to enter token name. Just enter. See, I entered here. So now what it is asking Databricks host. How to get Databricks host? Now go to Azure Databricks. So this is ready. Just click on go to resource. So come here, click on launch workspace. So it is taking you to Databricks workspace. Okay, you are here. Your host name is whatever is there till .NET here. Okay, whatever is there till .NET, that is going to be your host name. Copy entire thing, come to your command line, just paste that. Okay, enter. So your host name is done. Now it is asking you to enter token. How you can enter token? Click on this. Click on user settings. Here you can see new token, generate new token. That's all. Now it is going to give you, ask you to enter some comment. Okay, CLI authentication, authentication, some information, some comment you can give. So how many days this particular token should be active? Okay, so 90 days. Click generate. Then it is going to give you some token. Take this token. Later it will not be available. Okay, make sure to copy the token now. You won't be able to see it again. Okay, you have to save it into your local if you'd like to know this token again in the later. So you can save it like in your local. Otherwise, you can, if you don't want later, you can just click done. Okay, I already copied. I don't want that. Now I will enter token. Okay, enter. Oh, I guess. Okay, let's see whether it is accessible or not. How you will know? Just you can say, I will just execute some commands to see Databricks workspace. I can say ls workspaces. I think the user shade. So I'm able to access it, meaning I'm able to authenticate successfully. Okay, now you see users and shade. What are those? Just to click on workspace. Here you can see shade and users. These are the two folders I'm able to see it from this. Okay, now I know that I am successfully authenticated with my Azure Databricks. Okay, so our installation is finished till here. Installation and authentication to our Azure Databricks is finished. Now we will go and see how to create clusters and all those things. Once we work with the clusters, then we will go and see with workspaces. But everybody is clear till here how to install CLI and how you can authenticate. Anybody have any question? Please let me know. Devashish is clear. Other people, Devendra is clear. Abhishek, Manohar. Yeah, thank you. Now let's see now other things. Okay, so I want to do few things on cluster, but before that you just ask Databricks -h. So you know here when you ask, it will ask you, it will give you a lot of help commands, right? So like if you want to work on clusters, we have to say clusters. If you want to work on workspaces, you need to say workspace. Now I want to work on clusters. So Databricks clusters. Later I don't know what I wanted to do. Again you can say -h. That's all you need to do. Okay, you see, create, delete, edit, events, all those things we have. Let's go one by one. I want to create a cluster. So how you can create cluster is you just have to say Databricks. Okay, Databricks clusters create. I want to create it. So here I want to pass a JSON script. So JSON script will have all the information that I have copied into my notepad. Here you can see this is the script -JSON, and I need to say whatever script you are passing -JSON, and this script JSON script should be there in a double quotes. So if I use double quotes next to next, what happens is this will be there in a string and remaining things will be there out of string. That's why this double quote I want to skip. That's why I'm using backslash to skip this particular character. Okay, see everywhere I'm using backslash to skip this particular character. Now what happens is this is your starting double quote, this is your ending double quote, because every in all other double quotes I'm using skip command like backslash. So then what happens, our compiler will not know this double quote is available here. So the double quote again it will find at the end. So now this entire thing will be there in a string. So this entire script you need to pass it as a string. But what mandatory things I'm passing? Cluster name and version, not version, it's a runtime, then node type. Okay, standard D3V2. Okay, so normal some 4 cores and some 15 GB memory I will get if I use this, and number of worker nodes is 0 I am giving. Okay, these are the minimum configuration details I am giving. Just copy this and you can enter. Now I am just entering enter. Now see what is going to happen. See, cluster is created. It is giving the cluster ID. Now we'll go to workspace and see whether cluster is already initiated or not. Okay, cluster is not showing here, but it has taken the request and it will create the cluster. See, Cloud Pandit demo. Just click on this. You can see here based on my information 7.2. You can see 7.2. Okay, and the Scala version 2.12. You can see Scala version 2.12. This is the runtime I have selected. Next node type is standard D3V2. So come down, you can see standard D3V2. It means 14 GB memory, 4 cores, 0.75 DBUs. And the worker nodes is 0, and I have taken just a driver. So worker nodes equal to 0. I passed that as well. Okay, I have not passed like auto scaling, terminate option, all these things. That's why all these are default values it will take. Okay, so but what values it has taken, everything we will come to know once we list down, once we get the information about this cluster. Okay, this is creating. Let's wait for 1 or 2 minutes so that our cluster will be ready. Once our cluster is ready, we can get the information about this cluster. Okay, now just try to ask Databricks clusters. Okay, Databricks okay, just say clusters list, cluster ID, cluster name, status. These 3 details it will give. See, this is the cluster ID, this is the cluster name, this is my status of the cluster. Status of the cluster is still pending. But in this particular case, I will try to get the information about my cluster. Databricks clusters. Okay, get. I want to get the information. Cluster ID. Cluster ID. So what is the ID of your cluster? So this is the my cluster ID. I want to know all details about this particular cluster ID. Just to copy that ID and let me paste it here. Now enter it. See, it is going. So state is pending. Okay, so you can see number of worker nodes is 0. Default tags, you know the default tags, it will give all these things. And created user, who has created? cloudpandit@outlook.com. Okay, next you come out. So you can see all the information. Spark version is this, cluster name is this, cluster ID, node type. Okay, driver node type, auto termination minutes is 0. Okay, enable elastic disk. So if you want to give some auto termination minutes to something like some 10 minutes or 15 minutes, all those things is possible. You can change those values. Okay, so these are on demand. So we are not using any auto scaling option. That's why there is no information about your auto scaling. Okay, so something like this, you can able to get the complete information about your cluster. Now, so not only by using cluster ID, you can also use cluster name to get these details. Cluster name. What is my cluster name? Cloud Pandit demo. Enter. So you see you are getting all these details again by using cluster name as well. You can able to filter out with cluster name as well. Okay. So once cluster is up and running, then I can play around this cluster. Example, first I will restart this cluster, again I will terminate this cluster, again I will start the cluster. Okay, so all those things we'll try to do. So at this point in time it will take more time because we are going to play with cluster, so it will take some time to start, stop, restart, all those things. It will take some time, so here it will take more time. But once we move to other items like workspace, libraries, jobs, there we can able to finish our job quickly. Not developers, you will have a infra team, they only do. But this cluster creation and all those things, they only do. They may do it by using CLI, or they may do it by using user interface. But sometimes there will be a requirement where you need to create cluster, because they will ask you to create a cluster with they will be provide all details. So because you cannot create a cluster as per your requirement, you need to take the different approvals. Example, you need to inform your manager, architect, and they will check with client. So how much charges they are going to pay if you create again cluster. So all those analysis is going to be done, and once it is done, they will give you approval. Once they give approval, you can create. Even you can create. Okay. Sometimes if it is critical, you are in a testing phase because you found some production bug, you need to fix it immediately. But all the clusters are busy with the different tasks. So you want a separate cluster for debugging your production issues. Then you can request for separate cluster. Okay. So in all those cases, they may give approval and they may ask you to create the cluster with 2 servers or 3 servers. They will inform. Okay. They won't allow you to create a big cluster for testing something. Okay. So in those cases, you may go and create the cluster. But mostly you won't create. As a developer, you are not creating. Mostly like infra team or admin team. Okay. You will have a infra team. Those people will do all these things. But if you know all these things, it's good. But see now, when you go to workspace, notebooks and all those things, as a developer, you need to do everything. Okay, notebooks creation and importing notebooks or exporting notebooks, moving notebook from one place to another place. So everything you need to do it. Yeah, UI is more user friendly for the people who are good in normally who are using Windows from the beginning. But for the people who are using Linux machines from the beginning of their career, they are very good at writing comments, right? So they will like they are very happy to submit the codes. Okay, CLI comments. So that is up to you. So whatever is comfortable for you, you can go and use. But as a trainer, I need to deliver everything. So I'm going to give you. So whatever you comfortable, you can select that. Okay. So now you see like cluster is up and running. Now what I wanted to do, I just wanted to show you Databricks clusters list. Enter. You can see it's running now. What I wanted to do, I want to restart this cluster. Okay. So restart --iphone cluster --id. So what is the ID of your cluster? So this is the ID of your cluster. Enter. So now you just again list down your cluster. What is the status of your cluster? See, it's restarting now. Okay. If you just move here and come back, you can see cluster is restarting. I just issued a command to restart our cluster. Okay. So it will be done quickly. Restarting, it will not take more time. It will take very less time. Let's check the status again here. List. It is still in a restarting state. Anybody have any questions here as of now? Abhishek is asking few questions, but anybody else have any questions? Abhishek, for your question, am I answered your question, or still if you have any question, please let me
No, I'm good, thanks. So
know.
this is very similar to using PowerShell for things like ADF and all that, isn't it? From the backend.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
So it's not sort of mandatory to understand
Yeah, it's not
how
mandatory.
to execute CLI commands,
Yes, yes.
but it is a
So
good
for
good to
people
know.
who are using in big data, right, they used to work with Linux machines mostly. Okay, so people who are using Linux machines, they use it to submit commands instead of using UI, right? So that's why I'm just giving you both the knowledge. So whatever comfortable, you can select that. But if you have knowledge on this, it will be good. Okay, see now our cluster is the cluster state is currently running. You can see the cluster state is currently running. You can check it from the command as well. So currently running. Now I want to terminate it. How you will terminate? Databricks clusters. You have to say delete, and you have to say -hyphen cluster -hyphen ID, and I'm going to submit cluster ID. So this is the cluster ID. Just enter. So now just to take the list again. Now you see it is going to terminate. The state is terminated. Okay. The state is terminated. So once it is terminated, see quickly it is terminated. If it is terminated, what I wanted to do is I want to restart this cluster. So for that, you just say restart. Okay, restart -hyphen cluster -hyphen ID, and I'm going to put the cluster ID here. Enter. I'm just restarting this cluster. See, invalid state cluster ID. Sorry. So you cannot restart if it is terminated. You have to start it. Restart means already it is running. You want to restart. If something is not working, you are going to restart it. But I just want to start it, not restart. Okay, remember. So in this case, come back. You can say start. So that's why the error here it occurred cannot transition from terminated to restarting. Okay, you cannot restart the terminated cluster. You can start the terminated cluster. So when I say start it, now what it is going to do is that the status of this is going to be pending because it is going to start the cluster. Okay, current status is pending. So now once it is ready, we are going to do like we will just try to get the event logs. Then we will permanently delete this cluster and we will work on the workspace like notebooks, all those things.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
In real life projects, if we have to save costs, is it recommended to use CLI to start and stop cluster before we are running any jobs rather than
No,
using auto terminate?
so I already told you, right? There are there are two choices already. Databricks they have taken care to save the lot of cost. So with the help of two things, one is auto terminate cluster. If the cluster is inactive about 10 minutes, you can say if the cluster is inactive for about 10 minutes, you can able to stop the cluster automatically. You can configure those things. Second configuration is auto scaling. You always maintain the minimum number of servers, and as per the demand, as per your load, you try to increase. You just increase to the maximum number of servers which are mentioned in that auto scaling configuration. So these are the two options which allow you to reduce the cost. Okay, you don't need to do
Yeah,
anything. So whether you are stopping cluster from CLI, whether you are stopping cluster from your workspace, doesn't matter. It won't reduce any cost. Okay, both are same actually.
yeah, that's right. So other than that, this is sort of another option, isn't it?
Yeah, just exactly. This is the another option. Okay, Abhishek. So now if you take it is currently running. So I want to get the events. First, Abhishek clear events. So if you'd
Yeah,
like to know
yes.
exact name, if you don't know, if you're confused with something, whether it is event or events, so you can see here, it's events. You can say events. So I want to know events about cluster -id. So this is the ID. Enter. Okay, see, these are all things we have done. We created and then something. So it's not organized. You can see a cluster state is created, then running, restarted, running, terminated, starting, again it is running. Okay, so all these things we have done. Who has done also, it will have information, cloudpandit@outlook.com. Okay, here also restarting, who has made this restart, this user. Who is starting, this user. Who is terminated, this user. All this information we will have in the events. So next one is, if you remember, I just used the node while I am creating the cluster. So that node configuration, if you want to know different nodes available, so then you just have to say list hyphen node hyphen type, enter. Okay, before you just provide all those things, see, there are different nodes. Okay, so if you select standard LATS v2, so it is going to have a like this much memory and some 80 cores. It is very big cluster. Next, if you go here, if you go to top, you will see D3. What is our cluster? D3 something, right? So our cluster will be there at the very starting. These all are large servers. You can see here. So these are the different servers. Okay. See E64 V3. So our server DE. So DS12 or what? What is our server node configuration? D3 V2. So you can able to find those things also. For your requirement, you can able to understand D3 V2. Ours is D3. So these are all just I wanted to show you. So you don't need to like remember anything. All these details will be available only. So somewhere it will be there. DS3V2, if it is the mission, you can see number of cores is this and memory in MB. So 14,336 MB is the memory. So all the details will be there here. Okay, for this particular node, the details also will be here. Next, I have used runtimes. What are the different runtimes available? So you just say Spark versions. Okay, just to say here Spark hyphen version. Enter. Clusters hyphen H. That's a clusters hyphen H. Here you can say Spark hyphen versions. Okay, versions. Excellent. See, these are the different runtimes 5.5, 7.3, 7.1. So these are the runtimes you have. Genomic will come here. LTS. Okay, light. Okay, runtime light we discuss. Genomic, biomedical data if you want to analyze. Okay, here you can see ML if you want to analyze your data science data if you want to analyze. Okay, so genomic. So depends on your requirement. You need to select the key. Key is nothing but what it is. It's a node type ID. Node type ID is nothing but a runtime. Okay, this is the one Spark version equal to runtime. You need to select node type ID equal to this particular name. You have to select number of nodes, how many servers you need. So all these details you need to provide in this JSON script. Okay, but all these things you can able to get it from the CLI only. Okay, now I want to permanently delete this particular cluster. Now if you go here and see, I'm able to see it here. Okay, you can see still it is available. Now I will list down this particular cluster once again before I permanently delete it. Clusters list. Okay, this is the one. Now Databricks clusters. What I wanted to do, just take the help because you cannot remember anything. Right? It's very difficult to remember things. So here you can see permanent delete. Permanent hyphen delete. Okay, hyphen cluster hyphen ID. So this is the cluster I want to drop, like I want to delete it. So that cluster ID I can copy it from here. This is my cluster ID. Enter. Come here, just you replace the C. This will vanish soon. Okay, that is gone. Now if you say Databricks list, see there is no Databricks clusters now. Okay. Now see, cluster is gone. Understood now? So this is how you need to work with your on cluster. This is how you need to issue the CLI command. Clear, everybody? Okay. Any questions? Okay. Let me show you now with workspace. Okay. So workspace here you can see shared and users. So first thing that you need to do is you just ask, instead of clusters you have to say -h here itself. It will tell you, so workspace you need to use. Now you need to say Databricks workspace. After that I don't know what all I can do, just say -h. So it is going to say you can delete something, you can export something, export the entire directory, you can import a file, you can import a directory, you can list down all the folders which you have. LS is also kind of the same. List and LS are the synonyms. MKDIRS if you want to create your own folder. Remove if you want to remove any file. Okay, see, RM and delete are synonyms. Again, delete or remove, both are same. LS and list, both are synonyms, both are same. Okay, clear? See, first thing is we will list down all the folders. First thing is shared and users. I am able to see there. So I want to say your Databricks workspace -ls. LS, or you can use list. The users are shared. Now I want to say mkdirs. I will create a CLI folder here. Enter. Okay, CLI folder, you go here and see CLI folder is created automatically. Okay, now in this CLI folder I want to import something. See, mkdirs now we have used, we just used ls or list are both, yeah, both are same as we discussed. Now I want to import some file into this particular folder. How you will import? For that, come to your desktop. So in my desktop lot of files I have, but somewhere I think I deleted everything. That is okay, but still I will have some Python files here. See, demo code, something I have in this. Okay, just click properties. So I can say here, this is my desktop. Okay, I'll just come here, click on this. You just have to say, you have to say Databricks workspace. I want to import. So in which language file? L is Python language file. So from which directory? The directory you need to put here. So you don't need to put none all these things, because all those things are already available to users. All these things. You just say desktop. In this desktop, where you have that. So that file name is basically, what is that file name? That file name is basically demo code.py. So you just give your demo code.py. Okay, this one I want to move it into CLI folder. Okay, CLI folder. Enter. Error. Okay, so what it is saying, the resource already exists. So the path CLI folder already exists. So if it is okay, even if it is available, yeah, exist means you just have to put slash here. Enter. Because I want to move this particular file inside this particular folder, still it is saying resource already exists. I'm just importing demo code.py into CLI folder. So if it is already exist, I said right, something you need to do, that is override. Still it is giving same error. Now what you can do is, you need to say, when I'm moving this particular demo code.py into CLI folder, let's give the like same file name here, demo. Okay. Now you see enter. See, it is moved ultimately. But now go inside the CLI folder. I'm able to see, if you open it, whether you are able to see the code or not, you can see. So I'm able to see the code here. Successfully, my code is moved into this particular file. Okay, only we forgot to mention this particular file and when we are importing. Okay, this file will not come. You just have to tell the file name as well when you are importing. Okay, now this is single file, right? So in the same way, in reverse way, I want to do the reverse way. Before I do in reverse way, I want to rename this one. I want to rename this one to rename to, you can say something demo today date. Let me give 10/17/2020. So this is the date I have given dot rename it. So this is my file name. This is my file. Now what I wanted to do, I want to export that. Okay, now I want to export that. How to export? You can see, instead of import you have to say export. So where you want to export? I want to export this CLI folder demo code.py2. Okay, desktop. I want to move it into desktop. Okay, just enter and see whether you are able to move it. So again, no such option L. Yeah, when you are exporting, if you remember, when you are exporting, you no need to mention language. Okay, remember, whether you are exporting a folder, whether you are exporting a single file, you no need to mention language. That's why it is saying L is not available. Okay, now we enter. Again, some error. So again, while you are exporting, it is giving error. Export slash here. Enter now. Oh, sorry. If you remember, demo code.py is not available, right? The file name has changed. We have changed the file name to 10. Okay, I hope everybody remember, right? We changed this file name to 10/17/2020 .py. Here you have to say desktop flash. Okay, so on this particular desktop, I want to move this particular file. Okay, you can just enter now. Demo code 10/17, it is not available. Let's see now. You can see here. Demo code 10/17/2020.py, it came into my desktop. Okay, this is how you need to export. Okay, clear. Now what I will do is I will just put this demo code. Okay, I also have some transformation code, demo something here. So here you can say transform code, demo, this particular date code and demo code. Total three things are available. Let me create a one folder here. This folder is, you can say, folder cloud pandit folder, something like that. So into that I will just add this file. Into that I will add this transform file. Into that I will add some demo code file. You can see these three files are available here. Okay, these three files are available here. Now these three files I want to move it into here. So before I move all these things into my Azure Databricks, I want to create a separate folder. Let me quickly create a separate folder. So already you know how to create a folder, right? So you can say simply Databricks workspace. Here you need to say workspace mkdirs. So I want to create now new folder one. Okay. New folder or total data folder. Okay, or you can say backup folder. Just execute it. So mkdirs backup. So backup folder came. In this we don't have anything. Now I want to move all my data from local to this place. Okay, backup. So for that you need to say import. Okay, you are importing from local. Import -dir. Okay, if you don't know whether it's a dirs, just to say -h. So it will tell whether it's a dirs or dir. Just it's a export -dir. Now you have to tell from which location to which location you want to import. Okay, I want to import this from my desktop. Okay, from my desktop to in my desktop. What is the folder name? C folder. My folder name is C folder. So from this particular folder, I want to move all this data into my backup folder. You can see here. What is that folder name? Backup, right? We just now we have created a folder. What is that folder name? You can see backup. Now you just have, so as I said, when you are, oh shit, you need to import, not export. Okay, let me just import this. Import, okay, enter. Import -dir, no such command. I think import _dir. If you don't know what you need to do, you can see here import _dir. It's not -dir. Enter. See, it is saying all these are moved to your backup folder. Okay, this is how you need to move. So all these things now I want to export back. Okay, I want to export all these things back. Export. Okay, we need to say export -dir. So in which folder you have all these things? So all these things we have in backup folder. That backup folder, you can say backup. So all these backup things I want to move it into C folder 1. So C folder 1 I have not created, it will create automatically. Let's try it. See, all those things is moved to the C folder 1. But if you see C folder 1 will be created automatically. All the files came back to your local. So this is how you can able to export entire directory. If you want to import entire directory, you have to import something like this. Now, if you want to remove single file, okay, example, I want to remove a single file which I have in this particular CLI folder. In CLI folder, I have this file. I want to remove this particular file. So then you can say here workspace delete or rm, both are synonyms, you can use anything. Workspace rm, you have to say here C folder, CLI folder or C folder. Say CLI folder, CLI folder. In this CLI folder I have a file called demo code 10172020.py. So this is the file I have. I am going to remove it. Just enter. See, this is gone. Okay, that will come. See, that is gone. Now come to backup. Now I want to remove all these files. So what you need to do is you need to tell recursive. You just have to mention your folder name and then you need to say recursive. You don't mention any file because we want to remove all the files which I have in backup. So just mention backup folder name and you say R, recursive. RM is nothing but a remove whatever content we have in this backup folder recursive. Now everything will go. See, that entire folder is gone. Okay, that's how you need to remove the directory. This is how you need to remove the single file. Okay, clear. Okay, we discussed all these things. Okay, tomorrow we will see jobs, libraries, and DBFS. How you can use CLI for those things. Okay, any questions? Okay, if no questions, that's all for today. Thank you.
Hello, Malaya.
Yeah, David.
Yeah, Malaya. Yesterday you did not share that Python scalar notebooks, Malaya. In order
Sure,
to practice it.
sure,
Yeah.
I will share. Thank you.